What do you think is the most important skill for developing a research project quickly? No, it's not about reading. No, it's not about writing. It's about management. Even if you're not in the management field, it's management. You don't do time management, however, although this is important. I'm speaking about managing your supervisor. So in this video, I'm going to show you how the relationship with your supervisor may make or break the output of your dissertation. How do you manage a person? Of course, martial arts skills may help you, but this is not what I'm talking about. Managing people involves having a consideration about their timetable. It involves being considerate when it comes to workload allocations, when it comes to what your expectations should be. So let's start off with the very first one, which is the first impression. The first impression matters. You should always speak with passion and enthusiasm about your work. This will convince the other person to devote more attention to your work rather than any of the other supervisees that this person may have. Having an individual who is passionate and excited about the work is infectious. You may consider passing some of that passion to the other person by managing the way you speak. And even if you don't have a face-to-face contact all the time, regular emails would help you to convey that passion. Take on the lead. Write the first email, introduce yourself, introduce some of your background, introduce your interests, and only then try to sell the idea for that research project. Make it appear like this research idea is highly linked to what you want to achieve, but also linked to your previous background or your future aspirations. Perhaps you may want to use this as something that will give you a leverage point to a specific career. It could be a research career, or it could be a professional career in industry, etc. So build that link very quickly, perhaps in the first meeting with your supervisor. The next thing to do is to outline your view, your vision about how this process should go. So tell them that you intend to complete a given section within that period of time and actually live up to that expectation. Don't only create the expectation, deliver by that. Don't send apologetic emails saying that you've been very busy with other commitments and that's why you could not deliver. Don't let yourself be chased by your supervisor. This is not a good idea. This is never a good idea. If you're ghosting your supervisor, even for a couple of days, this is a very bad impression. It may feel that the communication with your supervisor is very informal, but it's never the case. There is some thoughts that stick to the supervisor's mind, and they may use them against you when it comes to sharing that feedback in the end and marking your work, your research work. So you want to make sure that it's a very pleasant experience for both. But it's not necessary to only please the other person. It's necessary to also draw as much insight and knowledge from the other person as well. That's why always ask them for some suggestions and ideas, particularly when it comes to reading lists. Don't consider that asking for a reading list is double work, because on the one hand you need to find out your own reading list, and on the other hand you're given a list of articles to read. As I said in one of my previous videos, reading articles can be extremely fast. So if you haven't watched this, go ahead and watch it. It's going to be a time saver for sure. But asking for a reading list will convince the other person that you want to draw from their expertise. Whatever their expertise is, that person may not be completely familiar with your field, but they may know the relevant theoretical frameworks. They may be an expert in the methodology that you are trying to utilize for your work, etc. Let them share some of that knowledge and you can capitalize on that knowledge as well. Next one is come to the meetings prepared. So have an agenda for every single meeting. In this way, you can go through some key points very, very quickly. And it makes sense to just stop the conversation and put down some ideas, make it very obvious that you're putting down those ideas, which would signal to the other person that you find this very relevant, very useful, and you want to explore more into this. The next thing you should do is always wrap up any conversation with a commitment that you're about to make. A commitment could be, when are you meeting next? A commitment could be, how many papers or what kind of progress would you be doing by the time you meet again? And also try to put some of the commitments on the other part as well. Ask them to provide you with more feedback on something that you have given to them to read and to comment. Ask them to provide a list of weaknesses, even if they haven't commented on the weaknesses in their feedback. Ask them specifically about which area could be improved. When you ask your supervisor to give you more critical feedback or even negative feedback on what could be improved, you're forcing them to get out of options on things they can be saying later on when you submit the formal draft. So in a way, you're getting prepared for every single possible weak point of your work, and you, of course, you try to address it. Even if you don't address it 100%, that's still fine because you have signaled your intentions to do so, and you have signaled your willingness to give it a try. And next time when you submit the next draft, you may ask them, okay, does it make sense? Did I address the concerns that you illustrated in the previous meeting? This is the sort of soft skills when it comes to managing your supervisor that you should definitely do. Again, never ghost your supervisor, never approach them in the last moment, giving them drafts and asking them to read anything in, let's say, a week before the deadline. Typically, you should expect at least 3 working days just to get a reply. And when it comes to reading and commenting on something that you have submitted, a draft, for example, then it may easily take a week and a half, depending on the timetable and the workload of the specific individual. So this is a very important skill. Be proactive, try to manage your supervisor, try to be transparent when it comes to the process, try to communicate your ideas ahead of time. Even if you haven't written a specific piece, try to walk your supervisor through the points that you intend to introduce. In that way, you're exposing yourself to feedback even before you start writing. And of course, we all know how painful it is to write something and then to be asked to scrap it all together. You don't want to be in such a situation because it will slow you down. So verbally communicate to your supervisor about the points and the linkages in the literature or the data that you would like to be introducing in your work before even writing it. That's all for today. If you have any sort of suggestions or personal practices of how you manage your supervisor, please comment down below, and I'm sure everybody else would be very happy to read that and learn from your personal approaches as well. That's everything for now. Peace out.